Hello, everybody. Welcome to Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones, your host. You'd have to be living under a rock somewhere in Australia, I suppose, to not be aware of what's going on with our friends and neighbors in California. We begin today with some sad news. Will Rogers' ranch house in California has been lost to the wildfires there. And Jennifer Rogers-Etcheverry, Will's granddaughter, is here to talk about it. We are very fortunate to have you here, a member of royalty, as a matter of fact.
Well, I certainly don't feel royalty today.
You must be worn out.
Thank you for having me, though. Thank you.
When did you get wind of the damage was headed for your great-grandfather's house?
Tuesday morning, I got a call from some friends that live in the Palisades, noting that there was a fire. The news had an address of where the fire originated, so I Googled that address just to see how far it was from the ranch. And it was quite a ways away, even though it was in the Palisades. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a canyon in between. And this thing started as a very small fire. And we just kind of watched it throughout the day. And as the winds picked up, the embers started flying. And I got in touch with the staff there at the park and state parks, and they began removing items from the house. But they had to be evacuated pretty quickly. So unfortunately, they weren't able to save everything. They got, there's an evacuation plan. We've always had an evacuation plan. And they pulled the things that were priority, most valuable. And I haven't received that list yet. It's coming. So I had an update this afternoon, and unfortunately, I know some stuff that didn't come out of the house that is sad.
Well, that really is a sad note. Do you? I don't know how to frame this question, but let me start by saying I'm not trying to draw you into a political stand.
Sure.
So put that to one side. But I'm curious to know, there are so many folk out there who deny global warming. Clearly you have to have been dropped on your head not to embrace the theory of global warming. This whole thing is a result of that. The way the winds came, the way the winds have circled, the way that the movement of the winds. And they say we can expect more of this down the road. Does it trouble you to know that this isn't the end?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned all that because I learned today something I never knew about. We're pulling photos at the museum for press releases and different stories. And the house was, we've had threats before. This isn't the first time where fire has gotten close to the house. We found photos in the archives at the museum of people on top of the roof hosing it down back in 1939.
Really?
Yes, I had no idea. They had taken everything out of the house and put it down in the middle of the field, in the polo field. And we're all at the museum today looking at these photos, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm not an expert on that. That's not my expertise. Mm-hmm. How it started is one issue. How it grew and turned into what it is obviously another issue. I'm not the one that's good at getting into all that. I mean, it is what it is. It happened. You hear the news where they're blaming people that there was no water in some of the fire hydrants. I'm hearing those reports. I'm not there. It's not my job to say if there was or there wasn't. When they were pulling things out of the house and they had to be evacuated, a really good friend of mine was there removing all the horses. We had a handful of horses there. He was loading up horse trailers and taking these horses off the premises. He was the last one out of that place. And I was FaceTiming him the best we could with the cell service. And he said, Jennifer, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to take some videos, and I'll send you the videos. And he sent a video, and in the video he says, it's in the park. It's coming. It's here. And he said, I'm so sorry. It's here. And I said, get out of there. And you could just see it was starting to go up. It's just, and that was at 7:20 our time on Tuesday evening. I'm staying feet away from the museum, and I just looked up at that museum, at that tomb, and looked at Will and Betty and said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, it seems like so many, that they're evacuating hundreds of thousands of people.
It's terrible.
Hundreds of thousands of people. And it still roars on. All the fires seem to be headed toward downtown Los Angeles.
It's zero containment. I just got off the phone just an hour or two ago with head of state parks that oversees the ranch. And she was telling me she was headed to Will Rogers to assess the damage there, but she said, it is absolutely, you can't imagine what it's like. It's gone. The town is completely gone. Nothing is left, the whole town. All the houses in the neighborhood next to the ranch are gone. All those people were supporters of the ranch. They were my friends. I don't know where they are. There's no cell service. There's no electricity. My very good friend who started the foundation that supports the ranch out there, the two of us founded it about 18 years ago. Her grandparents were personal assistants to Will and Betty, and they lived on the ranch for a long time. When they wanted to build their own home, Will helped them build it with remnants from his house because he was always adding on to his house. And my friend Trudy lived in that house, and I've stayed in it a million times, and it didn't survive. And I cannot tell you how many people I know personally very well that have lost everything.
You said before we started talking, before we started taping, you said looking at the video, you saw a restaurant. I've eaten there, and there goes my bank.
Yep.
I mean, it's just little things that.
There's the grocery store that we go to. There's the place we had a fundraiser with, so-and-so and so-and-so. Then you look at the destruction, you look at the photos of the aftermath and the patio, the fireplaces that are still standing, the outdoor fireplace. We held parties in that patio hundreds of times and fundraisers, and we just had a huge event there recently. Mm-hmm. I was just there a couple weeks ago. I'm there all the time. It's just, it's a lot. It's a devastating loss, but it doesn't compare to the loss of what people are going through.
You gave us the opportunity to sit down and chat with you, and we have some video and some pictures to share with you.
Okay. And
I'm going to ask them to go ahead and start showing those. And if you watch the monitor, and feel free to tell us what we're seeing.
That's a sign that was at the entrance of the house. There's the house, the historic ranch house. They saved the typewriter. I got word of that today. The original typewriter has been secured, and it is safe. That is still on the fireplace outside. They're taking it off today, that Remington bronze. None of that, the calf didn't make it out. All that artwork, they were able to get all the artwork off the wall in that room. I did get confirmation of that.
Will and Betty both?
Yes. Those are original oils. Those are Edward Boreens on the wall behind. They were able to get all that came off the wall, and it is securely locked, and it's all secure in a place in Los Angeles. But it's the first thing that everybody asked me, did you get the calf? Edward Boreen gave Will Rogers that stuffed calf, and if you notice in the picture, the ears are missing because he would sit and rope that calf in the house all the time. And he would have friends that would come over and they would try to rope it. But doggone it, they didn't get the calf out. They weren't able to get it.
Too bad. I don't know if they got the photo up that had Will in the living room with the calf, or a calf. Mm-hmm. There it is. That's the shot I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's my grandfather laying on the ground with the calf, and the calf's name was Sarah. A large piece of the property on the ranch is called Sarah's Point, named after Sarah the cow. And that's Will Jr. sitting in the chair on the left, and then Will and Mary and Betty on the couch. That fireplace is still standing. Amazing. The 3 fireplaces are all that's left. It's just crazy. It's just so sad.
Will they, down the road, try to rebuild it?
It's too soon to tell. We haven't even had those discussions. We don't even know. Right now, State Parks is dealing with other state parks that are threatened in Malibu. I know that they're gelling some of those houses as we speak. And to even ask those questions, I can't even, right now, let's just get these darn things out and get people safe.
There had to come a time for you, some point where you went, oh my God, this could get to the ranch.
Yeah, it was about noon on Tuesday, about 1 o'clock when I heard about the winds, and those winds got up to 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And when the winds shifted, the fire was headed a different direction. And then when the wind shifted and it started going that way, it was, I kind of started getting a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Was hopeful.
When do you get the list of what they saved?
I should be having it anytime. I was told today that the curator that works for the home, for the ranch, was at where the collection is, and they're going through it piece by piece. About 18 years ago, for the first time ever, everything was taken out of the house, and we put a whole new climate control system in there, earthquake sturdiness in the walls. We got to do a complete update on everything, the electrical and everything that needed to be done. And when they took everything out, that was the first time everything had been taken out, everything was cataloged, numbered, and photographed. We have a very, very detailed catalog of every single thing that was in that house.
So you'll know exactly
Yes.
what's gone.
I will know. And we'll know, we will literally know down to, a book, everything. So there was nothing that was taken out of that house that was not cataloged, given a number, and photographed.
Was this the house where he wanted trees built that you told the story
Yes,
about?
yes.
Would you share that story with our
Absolutely.
viewers?
Will was always, he didn't spend a lot of time at home. He was traveling a lot, making movies. So when he would come home, they were always expanding on that ranch house because it started as just a one-room cabin that he bought as an escape to get out of Los Angeles when he wasn't filming. And he built the barn before he moved into the house. He built the barn, built the polo field, and he was always adding and building. And he came home one time and he told Betty, okay, we're going to plant a tree line over here. And she got all the trees taken care of. And when he came home the next time, he said, I wanted trees. And she said, there they are. And he said, no, trees. And he had them all ripped out and full-size trees brought in and planted.
Really?
So I can't imagine he was the easiest person to live with. He would have been fun. I bet he was a blast.
One more story.
Absolutely.
He has a reputation of going against the tide.
Yeah.
And it always seemed as though he was trying to say, in your face, Buster, to folks who were racist, for example.
Yeah.
Would you share the story about the Indian children and the ice cream?
Sure. In Bishop, California, there's a mural on the side of a drugstore. And I got invited to go to the unveiling of that mural. And he had made a few movies in the area. And there was a drugstore that served ice cream. And the Cherokee children were not allowed in there because they were Cherokee. So when they knew Will Rogers was in town, they would all gather outside this drugstore. And Will Rogers would go into the drugstore and buy them all ice cream and come outside and sit with them and eat it. And on the side of this mural is a picture. It's Will Rogers sitting there with all these Cherokee children gathered around him, and they're all eating ice cream, and it's dripping down their arms. And there's a dog that's taken the ice cream from one of the little kids. But it just is one more example of his kindness. And he was so selfless, and he was good to everyone. To everyone, he was good to the wealthy. He was good to the common man.
And it took Congress a while to figure out he hammered both sides.
Absolutely.
But never harshly.
Absolutely.
Never harshly.
He had
Sarah,
a
I
gift.
want to thank you for coming
Absolutely.
in and sharing. And I would ask one more favor.
Sure.
Down the road, when the dust settles and the fires are out and we have a final tally, would you let me know?
Absolutely. Yep. I will do the best I can. You know, Tad at the museum has been great, and all the staff, and we want to let people know that we've got a little bit more pressure on our shoulders now because all that stuff that has been lost, we're so blessed to have things here at the museum in Claremore, and we will embrace those people, and we want to bring them here and let them know that we're here for them. We have amazing things to share here at the museum in Claremore, and his legacy is alive. It's still here.
And will be for many years
Absolutely.
to come.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank
So
you.
grateful. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.